Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Atlantic Bushcraft Adventures. Tonight we are on episode 366, and joining us for this episode we have the wonderful Ms.Keeva, and we're going to be talking a little bit about how if you're not camping, you might be killing yourself. So, from this point, I'm going to turn it over to Ben. He's kind of introduce the concept and who's going to be speaking here, and then we'll just kind of go from there. We got Eric joining us from the comments. Hey, Eric, thanks for joining us, buddy.
Eric. Yeah, so I guess there's not a ton of intro to this. Kiva read an article for school and you did a report up on it.
Yeah.
And you got talking to me about it and trying to tell me all this stuff. And we decided to bring it on here and share it because I think our listeners could learn something from this. You know, why is camping good for you and what health benefits can it give? And what's the negative side of not camping? Right? So, what's your take on it? What's your summary of that article?
15 years ago, a researcher for a university did a research project to see why people get better sleep while they're camping. And he learned that it basically just resets our natural circadian rhythm, which gives you better sleep because now you're in line with our biology and also nature, like with the sun and the moon, where when we're sleeping at home, we're using a lot of artificial light, which messes up our sleep cycle because our brains now think that it's still daytime, even though it's night, and then we don't get good sleep.
And the funny thing, what I like about all of this and why I love the idea, Ben, you and I have been saying this with absolutely no scientific method behind it. We've always been saying, oh, you just sleep better in the woods. You know what I mean? And now, well, behold, there is, well, apparently there was scientific method to back it up before. We just didn't take it upon ourselves to find it. But Kiva has, and it was kind of interesting. I did read the article there and how they conducted the tests, and they took a test group, and like she said, basically they just did some preliminary tests with saliva, I think it was, wasn't it?
Yeah, to see the melatonin levels.
So what was it about the melatonin they were testing for? What's the importance of melatonin?
Melatonin is the hormone that makes you tired and go to sleep. And when they were camping, they found the melatonin levels were higher, like in the middle of the night when you should be sleeping, and lower as soon as they woke up. But when they were sleeping at home, the melatonin levels were super high in the mornings and not as low as they should be when we're supposed to be asleep.
Yeah, I'd say anecdotally, I can say I could feel that effect. And just like light levels, I guess in general, like I have an office that doesn't have windows. And one of the things I've discovered is that the room next to me has lights too. And if the lights in that room go down, I get more tired because it sort of feels like that everything's getting dark, right? So even though there's like a natural light in my office, the light next to me goes dim and I start to feel like it's evening. And so I've been in my office at like noon and outside looks dark and I'm like, oh, it must be like getting late and I feel tired and it throws me off. And yeah, I mean, we were, hundreds of thousands of years, we would have had virtually no artificial light or candlelight at best, right? Or like
and it's a different kind of light too, right? Like a burning flame is a softer light. Doesn't seem to be as harsh, especially as like LEDs. Like I'm running in here, they emit a lot of blue light. That's proven to be bad for you. You know what I mean? It messes with all this stuff that we're talking about as well. But even like the incandescent, the spiral bulbs and stuff, they're not as a comforting light or a warm light or a, I don't know how to describe it, but help me here. What am I looking for, Ben?
Natural.
Yeah, I guess torchlight was always more natural-ish. You know what I mean? It didn't seem to put the strain on the body as much. Maybe because we didn't use it as much. We went to sleep a little bit more often. And much like
it's
you,
more of a red light, right? Like we talk about this like with flashlights and stuff. You have a red light, it doesn't really kill your night vision. It doesn't have the same effect on your body. But bright white light, that's a different thing. Like that's much less, other than the sun, we don't truly get it. So we, up until we created light bulbs, they could do it artificially. So
no, and one of the things like you were saying there as well, I kind of had the opposite when I switched jobs, and you knew what I do before this. I don't talk about it much, and I'm not going to, but at that job, I was in a room that was 100% isolated. You know what I mean? There's no outside light. And a lot of times I went into work and it was dark, and I'd come out of work and it was dark, especially in the wintertime, never even knew the day passed. And I always found it interesting because it was so brightly lit in there. It didn't really matter how much time passed. It always felt about the same amount, and I always came out feeling the same amount of tired. But now with my new job where I'm outside all day, as the day gets later and I notice it getting later, I notice myself getting more and more tired as the day goes on, which also comes with a little age, but I'm not talking like a massive amount of time here. It was only 3 years ago versus now, and I mean, I noticed it right away. It was one of the big things I noticed, but I also noticed I myself felt better just with the more natural light and stuff like that. Being outside more in general felt a
Yeah.
lot better.
Oh, I strongly believe that. So yeah, so for this article, was it all about the light, or did they get into anything else?
Briefly talked about how animal noises can help your sleep once you've gotten used to them. So it does take a couple nights. If it's something you're not used to, it can seem like eerie and uncomfortable at first. But after a couple nights, it actually can help your sleep. But they didn't go into much detail about how that works.
I can see that. And also, like, just natural sounds at night, like, you said, like birds and insects and stuff like that. Rivers and brooks is a lot different than, like, we could honestly say, like, listening to somebody rev up their Dodge Charger in the middle of the night
Down the road.
and squeal tires. That's a jarring, almost upsetting sound, where more natural sounds won't necessarily jar and wake you up. You may notice them if you're not quite asleep, but then you'll be like, oh, it's nothing. It's a very safe sound. But hearing squealing tires and you know big vibrations from engines is kind of an off-putting sound.
And I have a slight theory about this, and I could be completely wrong, but just the noise dampening effect of the woods in general. One, the sounds themselves are a lot more natural, a lot softer in general. It's not artificial, metallic, combustible noises. You know what I mean? It's a more softer trees and animals and things like that. Even the shriek of a bird tends to be quieted by the trees and the brush and all of that stuff. If it's right beside you, yeah, it may be a little jarring, but once it gets any real significant distance away from you, it's hard to tell how far away it is. It's always just kind of a muffled sound anyway, much to like what you were saying. The first couple of nights, yeah, it's going to be jarring, especially if you're not used to sleeping in the woods. You don't know what the sounds are. Even people that know what the sounds are, if they're not used to sleeping in the woods, it's still very jarring. Melissa, my wife, for instance, when we first started camping, I would tell her what all the sounds were. She would learn what the sounds were, but they would still kind of spook her because you're not used to hearing that stuff. She was,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Most of her camping was done in parks and stuff. So you still had the sound of people, the odd car going by, people talking, versus like deep woods camping where there are no other sounds and every sound kind of sounds a little eerie. And we talked about this before, how a beautiful bubbling brook to us can sound like whispers in the night to the wrong person. You know what I mean? And especially if you have that kind of anxiety coming from in town to the woods the first couple of nights, you're going to be revved up a little bit, all these new sounds and stuff. But like Keeva said, once you give it a few nights, it really does become quite comforting and you start missing it once you get away from it. I know if I've gone out on a couple night camping trip, and I'm sure you folks have been the same, and I'll let you talk about it, I don't like the white noise I sleep with at home. I always sleep with some sort of white noise. I got a fan on or something like that. Because I always have, mild tinnitus. But that doesn't even bother me in the woods because there's enough
No.
natural soft noise that it always feels peaceful.
Yeah. I mean, if you think about it, if you're in around trees, most soil and stuff, it's softer than, the gyprock walls and glass windows and stuff. That echoes sound back really harsh. But going off a tree, it disperses and muffles that noise. So it is definitely more soft and gentle. So for sure, there's that. I mean, I think other things that just happen, like if you're out camping, you're moving around, you're interacting with the environment. And it is overall relaxing, right? If you think about it. And then you do, like you said, as it gets darker, you're going to sort of slow down. You're going to do less stuff. You're going to wander less far from your bed as it's darker to a point where you just be like, hey, it's dark. I'm kind of tired. You go to sleep and you kind of wake up when the light comes back on. You're going to be able to see, right? So you tend to get more sleep. But if you go into a bedroom that's wholly dark and you have to wake up, like part of your brain is still working, thinking, oh, I got to wake up at the right time. Like I think you actually have to consciously try to wake up, right? So your brain is actually working at it. But if there's naturally occurring like brightness, then it says, oh yeah, it's getting bright. It must be time to wake up. And you don't have to think about it, right?
And a lot of us, we wake up before the sun comes up anyway. You know what I mean? Like the sun hasn't quite risen when I wake up. Now, something on the article, and I'm going to refresh your memory a little bit there, Kiva, because we're kind of on the tip of it here. A lot of people will say they don't sleep as well in the woods. They wake up frequently through the nights. But in that article, it did say, yes, you are prone to wake up more often. But as Ben said, and maybe you can elaborate a little bit, you tend to sleep longer overall with a better quality of sleep. Is that right?
Yes.
So,
They get overall, on average, people who were sleeping in the woods during the experiments got 2 more hours of good sleep than the average person sleeping like in their home.
yeah, 100%. And sorry, go ahead. I don't want to cut you off, Ben.
I'm just wondering, do you wake up but just not stay awake? Because I've woke up before, and like especially in my own home, and been like up for like hours. Where like camping, yeah, you might wake up because you heard something, but then you probably turn around and just like go back to sleep. It's all fine. Out you go again.
And that's kind of exactly what it is. If you read the article, and I have linked it in the comments for anybody that's listening and wants to read this article, it's really interesting. You should. They've linked other sub articles, and they did go to one that talked about this, and that's exactly it. You wake up more often in what they were referencing, just to kind of roll and stuff, maybe because of the uncomfortableness of sleeping in the ground is the argument they were using. I mean, a lot of times now we run with air mattresses and hammocks and stuff like that, so probably not as much of an issue, but you're still going to get, like, in a hammock, you'll get that draft, and in a air mattress, maybe you're getting sunk down too much. You basically wake up to shift a little bit and then almost immediately fall back into meaningful sleep, versus at home, as you said, Ben, when you wake up, it's like, oh, I'm going to get up to pee. So you get up, you go to the bathroom, you got lights on now and stuff like that. Oh, I'm out here, I'm going to get a drink out of the fridge because it's convenient. So you get the drink, and now you got blasted with other light, and now you're up walking around a lot. Oh, I wonder if that email came in or whatever, my pay came in. You pull your phone out for 3 seconds, only 3 seconds, and check it. But all these little distractions add up to your brain not being able to shut down immediately, versus when you're camping, most times it's I'm rolling over just to get comfortable. I didn't drink a whole lot before I went to bed because I know I don't want to get out of my comfy sleeping bag to go pee in the woods. And I'm not getting up to check my phone because I got no reception anyway, and there's no lights here, and I'm not going to bother digging for a flashlight. It just cuts out all of that extra garbage, and you just literally roll over and get back to meaningful sleep. We're our own worst enemies in a modern society because we have all of the conveniences that are slowly killing us, in all honesty. Slowly in their own ways.
Yeah, for sure. So what were some of the health benefits besides sleep? Like getting better sleep, why is that going to be better for us?
Getting better sleep in the woods, like natural environments, caused less depression, substance abuse, cardiovascular disease, obesity, and diabetes.
So,
Sure.
Go for it.
The solution to all life's problems.
I mean, it's a lot of them. I mean, look at the big health risks of today. You know what I mean? Mental illness, or mental health in general, not illness, mental health. Obesity, cardiovascular problems. I mean, there's the big 3 right there, and she listed all 3 of them. You know what I mean? So literally, camping could save your life, or at least prolong it a little bit more.
Or make the life you have more livable.
And more enjoyable.
More quality of life improvement, right?
And that's just it. And I think there is something to that. And like you guys were talking about at the start, just kind of getting your body rhythm reset. Waking up when the sun comes up, starting to wind down when the sun goes down. Humans, and this is completely unrelated to this article, but in another article, they were designed to kind of sleep around 4 hours at a time. And there's this whole study done about how often you can sleep, and it's like if you're gonna nap for between 20 and 30 minutes, but if you're gonna go more than 30, you gotta go at least an hour and a half. Like there is a pattern to your sleeping habits. And if you actually look at the sleeping habits, much like Kiva was saying there, in modern society, we kind of blow them all to heck. We tend to stay up late, wake up early, and the sleep we do get is terrible because we have all these distractions and things like that. And then when you get to the woods, you can kind of get back, or not necessarily just the woods, when you disconnect in general. I'm not saying you got to go super deep woods camping, but even a camping park and stuff like that. When you disconnect, you disassociate from the technological conveniences that are at your fingertips in your dwelling. I think is how they referenced it in one of them anyway. But yeah, you stop thinking about what do I need to do next and just start living for what you are doing now. And I'm trying to sum up like a 3-page article in a small paragraph here.
But I'm kind of thinking like some of the here, like some campsites or campgrounds, I guess, have artificial lighting. They have like street lights and stuff up. They have more of the conveniences. They have power sites and all this stuff. And if you're in there like a bigger RV, is it really that much different at that point? You know, you got full of artificial lights where somebody in a tent in a more walk-in site with no amenities would be much closer to natural light, natural rhythm, stuff like that. So I think as the spectrum goes, I'm not saying that one is way worse than the other, but I'm saying I think as you progressively get to the more primitive stuff, that you would tend to be more towards the more natural cycles and stuff, where as you add those artificial elements in, those extra levels of what we could say is extra comfort and stuff, may actually be stealing some of the true comfort.
Well, I mean, we can, and I don't want to dive down this hole too far because it's a whole other topic, but you see it with our food. It's very comparable. Convenient food is generally not as good for you as inconvenient food. Convenient living is generally not as good for you as inconvenient or natural living.
Yeah.
I mean, broad stroke of the brush there, of
vegetables and
course.
picking them and cooking them is a lot more work than going down to the store and picking up frozen vegetables out of the freezer, or maybe a pre-made meal out of the freezer at the store.
And there's
eating it
your
up.
tent versus camping park versus RV. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So and that's just a very rough comparison I'm throwing out there to make it a little easier for the analogy here. But I think that kind of gets the point. You know what I mean? Things that are good for you generally are not the easiest things to do. It's the curse of convenience. And that's exactly it there, Steve. It's convenient for a reason. It's sacrificing something. Things are very rarely convenient and beneficial. You always, or at least you tend to always have to sacrifice something for convenience. And more often than not, it's some quality of something.
Yeah, for sure.
So, that being said, was there anything else in that article that you think is noteworthy for people to know?
One lady mentioned in the article said that her best nights of sleep, she had zero artificial lighting, so she didn't use her phone or a flashlight or anything. It was just the sun and campfires that gave her any warmth and light throughout the nights. And everything else was completely natural. And she got the best sleep of her life.
So turn off the cell phones.
Yes.
100%. There's actually studies, once again, different study, same subject, that say you see a noticeable benefit to keeping your phone in another room than you sleep. Something as simple as that, making it less convenient to always be on it. So it's proven that if you take your phone and charge it in the kitchen, for say, one, you're going to be on it less, and that's the actual benefit. You know what I mean? I'm trying to think of how to say it without sounding absolute tinfoil hat here, but there is significant evidence that shows constant technology use rewires your brain. You know what I mean? I don't think that's any big secret, so I will go to that level and say by disconnecting from it once again, it kind of slows down that whole association and instantaneous gratification. Because really, you know as well as I do, Ben, the world's at your fingertips with a phone now. You can remember as well as I do. When you went to visit friends, you went to the door and knocked to see if they were home. You know what I mean? You
Yeah.
didn't send them a text or even give them a call. Because both of those, well, texts weren't invented and phone calls cost a lot of money.
Yeah, so you go into distance, but then you would oftentimes give someone a heads up. But yeah, I mean, especially growing up, if you were walking down the street and you seen buddy's car was in, or you seen the door was, like the lights were on or something, you didn't think nothing of it going up, knocking on the door, or walking right in. You knew them well enough. But society has changed, and it's now more of expected that you would text before, give them more warning. Like it is different. I think the natural flow of life and interactions is affected by this, right? Because we expect so much more to be artificially controlled and regulated. Um, and so, yeah, it sounds like to me, though, it is a really good idea to, if you can't live this life all the time, which I think most people can't, that be able to have times in your life where you can put down your cell phone, put down and just go somewhere where you can have the more natural light and minimize all this stuff and just allow yourself to go back into a natural rhythm for even a few days at a time should help a bit. And the more you can do it, I mean, apparently we have to do it now every weekend.
But not a bad thing. That's what this study did show. Like I said, it was a really good article, and I highly recommend everybody at least gives it a quick browse. If you want to read it top to bottom, it's definitely worth it. But even just to skim it and pull out the highlights, they did a really good job of highlighting the important sections. You can kind of thumb through it for sake of or for lack of a better explanation, and still get the highlights, and it's still good information. I found it interesting, and honestly, and that's how I kind of dove down the rabbit hole of clicking the sub posts, you know what I mean, and went down 4 or 5 other different studies that were amazingly accurate and kind of interesting. But this is the kind of stuff that's neat. So, kind of for you, Kiva, why did you have to do an article on this in school? Was it something they want you to do for outdoors, or just wanted you to pick an article to do a report on?
My humanities class wants the teacher part of the curriculum is to make sure that we're good at presenting. So she wants us to also know about the world around us. So every Tuesday and Thursday, 2 people from the class go up and they have a news article that they summarize and then ask a couple questions to the class about, just to practice the presentations. So we can pick any news article about any topic, but I was struggling to find something good, so I scrolled back a bit further than usual and found this one really interesting. So
No, and it truly was, honestly. And I love these kind of little articles that just put a spark in the back of your head to think about something. You know what I mean? It wasn't necessarily dry. It was a fairly quick article. I read it in like 10, 15 minutes and then dove down rabbit holes for hours afterwards. But I mean, it's a good article. Is it something that you're looking to do maybe again in the future? Either an article on outdoorsing or coming on and presenting it in this way? Is this helping you towards school at all? I never really got a chance to talk to Ben, or is this just something you want to do?
I just wanted to do it.
All right, that's cool too.
The podcast will not reflect in her grade.
Oh, that's too bad. I was going to say, if it's all about public speaking, you realize you're going from I don't know what's in your class, say 30 people to, tens of thousands at this point.
Wait, 10. Actually, I know a bunch of people at work have been listening. They've mentioned it. So, yeah, the numbers are going up, actually. I'm sure they are.
No, I'm not lying. At tens of thousands. We're at about 33,000 now unique listeners on Spotify.
Wow.
It's a lot of people.
Yeah.
Now, that's not all at once. Don't get me wrong. That is over the course of 90 days. But still, lots of people. And once again, it's a podcast, so that's all audio, not so much visual. But anyway, getting more back on track. If you ever do grab something on the outdoorsy stuff again, we'd love to have you back on, or at least I'm speaking for my side. Maybe Ben doesn't. I don't know. You guys can discuss that off camera, but I think we could probably arrange for you to come back on. Any of these little articles that's people should maybe tip an ear to. It's great stuff for things like this. Love getting people talking. We got Red Bear here. So many activities we do while camping are beneficial for mental health. Fires being near large bodies of water, healthy cooking, physical activity like gathering and processing wood. That's the thing. Being outside, it leads to a better night's sleep because you don't notice how hard you're actually working.
Yeah. Yeah, there's just stuff that needs to be done, and it's not, like you said, it's not necessarily hard. It's just something you have to do, and most of it tends to be a little bit more enjoyable. Like cooking when I'm camping always feels a little bit better than cooking when I'm at home. Um, Also, like I think there's just the natural tendency to trying to keep things a little bit more organized. Like you have to control your environment a little bit more, so you minimize a lot of the extra stuff that you might do at home, right? You cook with fewer pots. You have to clean everything up quicker because you don't want to track the animals and stuff. Like there's it just means that those little tasks, none of them feel as big because you do them and you're a bit more efficient with your use. Even gathering firewood is not bad because you're enjoying it, right?
Everything feels like it has a purpose in the woods versus at home where you're just kind of going through the motions. And maybe I'm speaking for myself. I don't want to put words in people's mouth, but for me in the woods, I feel like there is purpose. Everything I do has a meaning. It has a goal. It's achievable. You know what I mean? It's very methodical versus at home where it's kind of all helter skelter, for lack of a better explanation. Yeah, you can cook supper, but then the dishes may sit in the sink, or I'll throw them in the dishwasher, and after we have breakfast tomorrow, I'll turn it on, and then if it gets forgotten about, like, you never intend for things to get away from you, but it's so easy to do at home because everything is kind of made up on the spot.
I mean, you think of it like your bed. Like when you're camping, you kind of have to settle away your sleep system. You don't, you have to keep your clothes relatively neat and tidy because you have very little space to do all this stuff, right? And so you're always kind of keeping things a little bit more organized. You're always thinking about what's the next step, what am I going to do. Even if you have to travel, like I usually push a lot of stuff into the tent, secure it, just to stop people and animals from bothering it. Where at home you just kind of walk away and come back and it's still there, right?
Yeah, and that is my guilt. My guilty sin is procrastination at home. You get me outside, there is no ounce of procrastination. But here at home, everything is kind of like, is it really important? Do I really need to do it? It's so convenient to be able to push stuff off, including sleep and good sleep practices. I am guilty for sitting in bed and being like, just one more. And of course, I have a Google TV that's hooked up to one of those Chromecasts hooked up to the TV. So I can sit there and be, just one more video or whatever on YouTube. I'll be watching, like Jeremy, or I'll be watching some camping video or something silly, whatever. It's just, the slide comes up or the feed comes up. You're like, oh, yeah, just one more. And that leads to one more. And you get into really bad sleep practices versus in the woods where you're just like, well, sun's down, it's dark. Not much I can do. Guess I'm gonna sleep.
You'll probably even, you'll make your meal before it gets dark because you want to make sure you can clean up and have all that done before it's time to get ready for it. So everything kind of has more of a set time in the day where you stretch it out otherwise.
So
Yeah.
Red Bear is saying the light wavelength produced by a campfire triggers happy hormones in our bodies. And I agree with that. I don't know if there's scientific method to back it up, but I can tell you right now, there is something so relaxing and soothing by sitting around a campfire, regardless if you're saying anything or not. And then when you go
I
to
see
sleep,
my wife nodding. Do you agree with that one?
yeah, right? Like,
Scientific or not, we all agree.
I'm sure there's some sort of information done on it, but I think we can all agree. There is something that is calming, soothing, and revitalizing about sitting around a campfire, especially if there's no bugs. It's a nice campfire, the smoke's going up, you just have that slightest smell. Like, everybody knows that zen level, you know what I mean, to where you crawl in bed and you're all toasty from the fire, and then you warm your sleeping bag up and you pass out.
Missy asks, is the propane fire as good as a natural fire?
I like a natural fire, I'm not gonna lie. It's not bad. I just like the crackle, I like the smell, I like everything that comes with a real fire.
Her point is, if there's a fire ban and you're out camping, you take propane fire. And I think it's still better than nothing. It's definitely.
Absolutely.
And then you have to, and you get like the lava wraps and whatever in it. That kind of like causes the more yellowing and stuff. I'd say it's pretty close.
I can stare at a candle and be happy, I'm not gonna lie.
Candle's pretty good. Did you ever see the little, like, I think they're meant for that. It's like They have the wider wicks, and there's 3, and it's a big candle, and
Yep.
that's what it's called. Yeah.
I have laid in my hammock and hung up the UCL light and watched it burn for hours. Just lay there, read a few pages in my book, and then kind of look up and just watch that flicker literally for hours. Let's see. Red Bear. Personally, I think it comes from our ancestors. When cavemen found fire, they had protection from large predators, gave them a safe place to rest being near fire. Absolutely. There's security in fire. There's companionship in fire. Sleeping out in the woods feels way more lonely if you don't have a fire. Don't ask me why. No more people, but so much more lonely if you can't have a fire. Studies say that propane isn't as effective as firewood, as Red Bear also says.
Yeah. Study says that propane is not as effective as firewood.
That's what I was.
Throw a couple of plots on top of it. It'll be
It's
It's propane fire. It's where?
It's propane wood fire. Hybrid fire. We are up to our 30 minutes here, so do you have any final closing remarks there, Keeva? Anything you'd like to finish up on? Final thoughts?
Nope.
When you're gonna get out again?
As soon as you take it.
Oh, my fault.
Good answer. Yeah, Ben, why don't you take her to the woods more often?
Keep her there.
Leave her behind. You know, she'll be fine. Goes feral.
She likes camping.
And that's good. A lot of kids don't. And I mean, you're not a kid anymore. You're, a fairly half a young adult there. But a lot of folks in your generation, even up to like my oldest kid's generation, have zero interest in anything outside a house. And I hate to say it that way, but it's true. I asked lots of people, like cousins and stuff like that, hey, let's all go camping. There's a ton of property. I can show you how to do a bunch of neat things. Nah, I'd rather play Xbox or PlayStation or Wii, whatever is out there now.
Or a hotel room. And I bet you there's no study that says sleeping in a hotel room is better than camping.
Hotel room. But I
Except
would
there's no
argue that it's better than home.
It's an argument there, but
Yeah, I was gonna say it's one of those things it all depends. A lot of times if I go to a hotel, I don't bring any of my laptops or stuff. So I kind of semi-disconnect. I'll watch whatever's on their junky TV for about an hour until I get tired of commercials. And then generally I'll read a book a little bit or go to bed early. But I don't sleep as well there, because now you do have all those other human sounds echoing through a strange location.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't find hotel rooms comforting or happy. Anyways, I'll say my thing, get out there, have fun, do it for your health, even if you don't enjoy it, your body will thank you.
Yeah, if you don't enjoy it, studies prove that your body does. So mentally, all you really got to do is get over the thought process of not wanting to do it. And that's a lot of things. We've talked about this before. Mentally and physically, we're capable of far more than we give ourselves credit for. Push the boundaries ever so slightly. Just be safe about it. All right, folks. Have a good night. We'll talk to you next week. And thank you, Ms.Keeva, for stopping in and enlightening us with your article there. It was awesome. Thank you very much.